Hello, welcome to today's WBCA and NABC Coaches Forum on the topic of assistant coach development. Before I introduce our panelists, please note that today's Coaches Forum is being recorded and will be available to view it on demand on the NABC and the WBCA websites in the coming days. You can also watch all past Coaches Forums on demand as well. I'd also like to thank our partners at Marriott Bonvoy for their support of this webinar series. And now to introduce our panelists. Jenna Costas is the women's basketball assistant coach at Ashland. Dedrick Taylor is the head men's basketball coach at Cal State Fullerton. And Jan Jensen, she'll be here in a bit, is the women's basketball associate head coach at Iowa. And I'm your moderator, Steve Yang. I'm the assistant coach at California Baptist University women's basketball. Thanks to each of you for taking the time to share your wisdom and insight with the NABC and WBCA members. If time permits, we'll take some questions toward the end of the hour. So please feel free, if you guys are out there listening, watching, please use the Zoom Q&A function. And we'll try to get to the questions as much as you can. Thank you, Jan, for jumping on. Appreciate you. I know y'all just got out of practice. All right. I think I'm having trouble hearing you. So. While Jan's getting her, while she's getting her audio working, I do want to mention that the WBCA Next Generation Institute is it's still open. So this program is for experienced associate and assistant coaches who aspire to become a head coach at the NCAA D1, D2, and D3 levels. This cohort program will meet virtually prior to convention, in person at convention, and virtually post-convention. Nominees must meet the following minimum criteria, where they have to be a current member of the WBCA, have 5 years associate or assistant coaching experience, and have previously attended WBCA conventions and be registered for the 2024 convention. And to nominate, email your full name, school to Shayla Black at sblack@wbca.org by October 5th, 2023. All right. So, Jan, we get your audio working? Everything good? Maybe it's my audio. I'm having trouble hearing. Jenna, let me get you going. You there?
I am here. If you guys can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you. Dedrick, you good?
Yes, sir. I'm good.
All right. Coach Jensen, while you're working on your audio, we're going to start with. I'm just going to ask a simple question. We'll start with. Let's go, Jenna, first, and just. I know each of y'all have been a current or are current and former assistant coach. Tell us a little about your career path and how your time as an assistant coach has impacted your career. Jen, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, so like Steve said, my name is Jenna Costas. Currently, I'm the assistant coach at Ashland University. It's a D school out in Ashland, Ohio. Currently starting year 9 as an assistant coach at the college level. To be honest with you, I didn't know what I wanted to do out of college. I thought I was going to go overseas to play professionally until a coaching opportunity came out in the area where I'm from, in the Chicagoland area, to start off at a D3 school. For the past 9 years, I've been at the D3 and the D2 level, so I kind of got experience on both levels, minus the D1 level. The impact that it's made, I think just the amount of people that I met, not just the players and the staff that I've got to work with, but I think it's just the community, the athletic support. It's not only helped our program out be successful in every single program that I've been to, but it's helped me become a better, not only coach, but just a better person overall, to be able to take those lessons and everything that I learned to kind of my next journey, whether it's being another assistant position or a head coach someday. Am I passing it over?
Yeah, sure.
Coach Taylor, go ahead. Floor's all yours.
I appreciate that. I am going into my 11th year as a head coach, primarily a West Coast guy. I'm from California. Been an assistant at Loyola Marymount, Portland State, Nevada, Arizona State, and then here as a head coach at Cal State Fullerton. So my journey has been short-lived as an assistant. I would say I was a head coach at 38. Again, I think the impact just the relationships over the course of my career. I think the experiences, the opportunity for growth, the opportunity for development, and learning all of those things, or through those things, throughout the course of my career has allowed me to be in this situation, but maintain being a head coach, and it's something that I want to continue. So I appreciate the opportunities that have been afforded to me, and again, the relationships that I've developed and consummated with people across the world, quite frankly. Again, they all play out in the experiences that we live on a day-to-day basis, and in terms of trying to build young men that are productive citizens, but also win a couple basketball games. So I saw Jan on, but she is no longer on. So maybe we should go to the next question.
No, we'll get Coach in a bit. You know, she's have to get, you know, ankles taped and all that, get ready to go, right? So no, this is great. It's great. Coach is on. Coach is on. Let's go ahead and Coach Jansen, if you're on, if you want to just kind of tell us about your career path and how your time as an assistant coach really have impacted your career.
All right, I just got in, so now we hear me now? We're all good?
Perfect. Yep,
all right,
perfect.
I apologize for being a little bit late. I was just got out of practice, our first official one, and I'm speaking across campus. And so I jumped in my car and I ran in here. They had it all set up for me, but the laptop isn't working. So I apologize for that. But the question is about the career path, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah, career path and just
Okay.
how your being an assistant coach impacted your career.
All right. Well, you know, I'm kind of a little bit different in some ways. I'm just a longtime assistant, at least so far. And I am really proud of that. And I'm so grateful for that. I've had, in my long career, I've had a few opportunities to be a head coach, a couple times at my alma mater, some, you know, within the Midwest, Power Fives. Don't know if I would have got them, but I was certainly flattered to have been asked, some of the mid-majors in the region. But I think what I would say to everybody here is, you know, never be in a hurry and embrace where you are. And when I started my career, I was really blessed. I'm a lot different than maybe a lot of people. I played professionally over in Europe way back in the day when they didn't have the, you know, the league. And then I came back to be a GA at my alma mater, which is Drake University. And in my senior year, Lisa Bluter, who is my current boss and current Iowa head coach, she coached me my senior year because we had a coaching change. So went overseas, helped me get a nice contract. I was all happy. And I was going to come back and I was going to get my degree in higher education. And I was just going to be a GA. I never thought that I really wanted to make this a profession. Well, lo and behold, after the GA position, she lost an assistant really late. Wasn't really happy with her pool of candidates. So kind of by default, I became an assistant at Drake at a really, really young age. So I got a lot of experience, even though I didn't do the GA route back then, you know, starting, I think my 30th year coaching is we did it all back then. So I got a lot of experience. So, you know, a 2-year stint turned into a 5-year stint. And now, you know, I ended up having just a great time at Drake University. Our staff has stayed intact. Lisa Bluter, myself, and then Jenny Fitzgerald is a longtime assistant. And, you know, it doesn't really work that way. It's really abnormal. We ended up, you know, working together, became best friends. And in the process, I wanted to set that up is when I was young, I kept feeling that pressure, like, you know, you should apply for these jobs. You should take these jobs. And then, you know, we had some success and people were calling, and I just, you know, I felt a little bit, I guess, stressed, if you will. I had some Power Five head coaches would kind of slyly, I felt sometimes, you know, maybe critique me as to why I was staying. And, you know, that was just a moment where I had to really evaluate, you know, all the things we tell our players not to do is let other people's opinion affect who you are or what you want to do or who you want to be. And I think it was at that moment, probably about, 15 or so years ago now, we're starting our 24th year at Iowa. I just really realized that I love what I do. I love the role I play. And my family is really close. My mom and dad they were ailing at the time. They're no longer alive, but everybody could come here. We were at a Power 5. We were starting to have success. And that's what, I was desiring. So I was comfortable and we hit it, and we just have had a blast coaching. And when you have a staff that you really gel with, I would just say, don't be so quick to, hop. And I know a lot of people aren't like me or Chris Daly. But if you find yourself thinking like, oh, I got to move, I got to hop. If you're happy where you are, stay and grow. And then I think you'll find a lot of success. So I've had tons of experience, and you will get opportunities. Even as old as I am, I still get called. I still get people, wondering and so forth. So, and the question is, do you want to be a head coach? And yes, it will be the right one. But I'm having a blast at what I'm doing right now. So sorry for the long-winded, but I just feel in my heart to make sure assistants on here that you need to hear from an old dinosaur like me that it's okay.
No, and that's great. This is great because, looking back with all three of y'all, our panelists, you guys have had a lot of experience, and just looking back at your career, I mean, what are some things that I guess you wish you would have known sooner? And Coach Jensen, since you're on the topic, if you don't mind just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think sooner probably is that just not to hurry or critique yourself so much on when you make steps. I think in life, a lot of times, everybody just wants the corner office, and that's how you're sometimes judged, right? Do you get to that top rung of the ladder? And it took me a little while to realize that, that perception, I think, is so often an error. And I think especially in coaching, because you can miss so much of building and learning under a really great system if your eyes always wandering. I always think it's like we've all been at like fundraisers, right? Or cocktail parties. And you've been with that person that you say hi to, and you're trying to engage, and they keep looking for someone cooler across the room, right? They're that networking, and they're just kind of like, yeah, how's your staff? And they're kind of looking. And I think in coaching is like, just if you stay the course and you work your tail off and you're enjoying what you're doing, it's clearly evident to everybody that's in the gym with you. If you're a hard worker, right? It's clearly evident that what you're adding to the staff that you are. And it just took me a few years to realize that. So I guess that's redundant, but I think that's the most important thing. And then when I kind of let my shoulders down about that, then boy, I started really, really being able to really gain the experience that has, prepared me well to have been a head coach, I believe, a decade ago, and could prepare me tomorrow. So that's, I think, what I've learned.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Jenna, do you have something that you wish you would know sooner? I know you have a long career ahead of you too, but something that when you first got in, you're thinking, oh man, I wish I'd have known this when I first got in the game.
Yeah, I actually got a couple. One of them is going off what Coach Jan just said, not to be in this rush to go be a head coach. I thought, okay, I'm going to spend 3 years in assistant, and I'm ready to take the next seat 6 feet over. And that's not the case. I'm going into year 9, which, like you said, I got a lot more to learn and a lot more to do at the assistant level. So for all those that are on this call, I mean, focus on the year that you are with and the team that you are with now. Don't be in November or December like, oh, I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready for the next spot, because not only are you taking away from yourself, you're also taking away from your student athletes and the head coach that you're working for. And then the first thing that I thought of when this question kind of came up, this job is more about the X's and O's. When people think about basketball, they just think I need to be the best play caller, I need the best defense and everything like that. At the D2 and the D3 level, you got more hats to wear. And I'm speaking on those 2 levels just because I've played and have been coaching at those 2 levels. I mean, you might be in charge of gear, you might be the academic coordinator, you might be in charge of the travel itinerary. So kind of get involved in that as well when you are in this assistant role. I mean, yes, it'd be nice to have some plays drawn up and to have some defensive schemes as well to bring to your head coach. But just know that there is more to this job than just being able to draw up plays on a clipboard and to be able to recruit some kids, which I mean, those are two of the biggest things. Those are essentially what gets you the dubs at the end of the day. But there's more to this job than those two main things. And I think that's what mainly people look at when they're getting into this, that I get to roll around in a t-shirt and a hoodie and sweatpants, and I get to blow the whistle, and to call the plays in the defense and go recruiting and everything. But there's just so more to this job that people don't know. And you really don't know until you kind of get your feet wet into this role.
Absolutely. Coach Taylor, Deidre, do you have anything that you may want to wish you had known sooner?
Yeah, I think both the coaches have said it, and I'd echo what they both have said in terms of slowing down and appreciating the details and being really good at the details to make the big things happen. Just like Coach said, in terms of like doing the small things like laundry and travel itineraries and things, I think they all set you up for sitting in the seat, of being a head coach and understanding that they're going to help you prepare because you've done it before. You know what it looks like, you know what you expect, you know what you want. But again, appreciating those smaller moments that make the big things happen. But they also make the success of the program really, really big, and they make your head coach look really big or really good. But it also gives you the opportunity to learn a breadth of things that go into a basketball program, a collegiate basketball program, that are not just X's and O driven or recruiting. And like Coach mentioned, they are really, really important, those things, but the other smaller details are really, really, really important. And so I think taking time to appreciate those moments, learning what you can, but then also executing what you need to for yourself and for your program and for your boss.
This is great because like the NABC and the WBCA having programming like this to help us coaches, to not make these mistakes getting into coaches, right? Like we wish we had this when we were growing up. Like, hey, who's telling us what to do, what not to do, and how to navigate, right? Coach Jensen, I know you've been coaching for a while too, and with your experience, like having the experience out there to help you navigate through this is great. And this is an opportunity for us, you out there listening and watching, just to kind of take notes and kind of grow from this, especially in these roles, in your role. Now, we've talked about what we have done sooner, would do sooner. How about what makes a great assistant coach? What makes a great assistant coach in your opinion? Let's go with Jenna first.
I think the first and foremost biggest thing is just knowing the game of basketball. I mean, obviously we probably played the game in college or in high school, or maybe if you didn't play at the college level, you were a student assistant or a manager. So you have some basketball background underneath you where you know essentially the basics of it. But the biggest thing that I've learned from being an assistant coach is that you are your head coach's right-hand man or woman. Whatever they need, you are an extension of them. It could be the very, very, I'm going to say petty things like doing the laundry or ordering gear or anything like that. But if you do it the correct way, that's how you're going to build that trust, which leads me into this next thing, is the trust and the loyalty piece. I know we touched on this before, is not looking for the next step or looking for the next job. You got to be in the moment within that year with your coach and also your student athletes as well. And I'm pretty sure that as an assistant, your head coach is giving you duties and jobs that you do weekly or throughout the year. Be great at those duties and those tasks that your head coach gives you, whether it's you're the recruiting coordinator or you're in charge of the offense or you're in charge of quick hitters. Like, be great at that, because when your head coach shows that, or your head coach sees that you are great at those things, that's where you're able to get more tasks assigned to you because of the trust that you have built with your head coach. So those are some big things that I take away from being a great assistant for the college level.
Coach Taylor, how about yourself? What, in your opinion, what makes a great assistant coach?
Really understanding that it's really easy for everybody to identify the problem. That's the easy part. I think the hard part comes into play in terms of what are the solutions, and then presenting solutions that are multifaceted. Like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you do that, that's what's going to happen. If you do, and understanding that the solutions that you offer, they have different outcomes, they have different perspectives, and they include or encompass other perspectives outside of yours. And so I would say, most, and I'm speaking of myself, as an assistant, I had all the answers, right? As a head coach, I have no answers. I don't know what the hell is going on. And that's just a part of being able to trust, as Coach mentioned, trust your staff, but then also execution of those solutions. So it's one thing to identify the problem. It's something totally different to identify the solution. But I think it's absolutely imperative that you have a plan of execution on how you're going to execute those solutions that you have for the situation. So being a part of the solution as opposed to identifying the problem, I think I would just strongly encourage those of us that want to be a head coach to look at it from that avenue and that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Coach Jensen, what's your opinion about what makes a great assistant coach?
I mean, I think if you look at it, what makes a good teammate? The qualities that make, think about your favorite kids that you coach, right? Or, is like, it's those qualities, it's those selfless qualities of what we love about our favorite teams. And I think when you're young in this, sometimes you can spend so much time trying to be the next Pat Summitt, be the next Gino, we're going to be this. And then you're taking all these notes and they're just so detailed, and this practice plan and this practice plan. And I want to do this and I want to be that. And I want to do it just like, and I think if you just kind of center and you stay true to who you are and why you got there, and be that teammate, be that person that you would love to work for you, then all of a sudden, all the things about being part of the solution. And if you just kind of let all the definitions of who you're supposed to be or who you want to be like, if you just work your tail off, and I would say when you're young, when you have a lot more energy and maybe you don't have as many responsibilities, personal life, is do everything that you possibly can to sign up to help that head coach, because you're getting all the experience, and especially do the things that you are intimidated by when you're young. And there's always something people like. Maybe you're a person that just loves X's and O's, and it's just, you're mortified when you got to call recruits, right? Well, if you know that, seek out one of the more experienced coaches on your staff and have them sit with you on one of the, maybe the second tier recruits on the list, right? Or maybe you're still, maybe you're into it a few years, but that's still a little bit of a nervous thing, is like, seek out on your staff, and don't, sometimes it's competitive on staffs, right? Who gets the best scouts, and, who has the more responsibility, or, if you don't have an associate head coach title, is like, who's really that number two, is that'll get you nowhere. Is you just keep doing the work and really work on your insecurities and your weaknesses. That's how you're going to get that confidence. Maybe you love the X's and O's, or maybe you love recruiting, and X's and O's are like, that's not me. Make sure you attack those, because that's how it's going to give you the confidence. Because if you just keep climbing with your one strength, then when you find yourself, let's say you get that job, right, that you landed at your dream school, and all of a sudden they interviewed you, were like, oh God, you're so great, we love this, and you're thinking they hired you because you're this recruiting guru, and you get there and all of a sudden, you got 12 scouts. Is that, I think, is what I would suggest, is like, just get all your experiences that you can get, and really attack those weaknesses with someone on staff, and hope it might be your head coach, but carve that in. And it's hard because we're all doing a whole bunch of things, but that's task for, in the off season, maybe more so, or, at the beginning in April. In our sport, women's basketball, we can start calling in April. That's when you want to, maybe get on the phone with someone that's not as a, number, top 10 recruit in the nation. So that's what I'd say, and be the first to sweep the floor. I just really think, I mean, sometimes, our head coach still will sweep the floor with the janitors, or, if it's a little, but I think that's a quality that is good for your team to see, that it just doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be the managers or janitors. It's just like, do the things that need to be done. Don't care who gets the credit, work your tail off, and amazing things are going to happen.
I love it. Rolling up your sleeves and serving others and serving the program. That's really important, especially in our profession. Love that, Coach. Now, Coach Taylor, what's a strategy for you, for these coaches out here that's watching, if they want to advance through the coaching ranks? Like, what's a strategy that you can give out to these coaches out here?
I don't know if it's necessarily a strategy per se, but really identifying what you do well. What is it that you do well, and be not good at it, but great at it? Like, not all of us, as Coach Jensen just said, just in terms of like, we want to be everything, and understand you can't. You're not going to be good at anything if you try to do everything. So understanding who you are and what you're good at, identify that, and then work every single day to be great at it, to where if you're not in the office or you're not present, nothing can go on, because you're that good at it, whatever that thing is. And again, I think it goes back to developing a level of trust. So as a head coach, you can trust, that's what you get from that person. So just being able to identify what you do well, and then identifying maybe one or two things that you don't do well, and spend time sharpening those skills. But it doesn't take away from what it is that you do really well, and what people can count on you for, and your teammates or your peers or whomever it may be in your program. But identifying what it is that you do, and do it really, really, really well.
Coach Jensen, what's something that you've been a strategy for you to advance through the ranks? I know you mentioned briefly about your Drake career, and but what's something you can give these listeners?
Well, I think that's great. What Coach Taylor, you shared, is like, make sure you have your, what you love to do. And if you can do that really well and become invaluable, you always got a spot, right? And I think that's excellent, great advice. I think also is, be what your head coach needs. Maybe you sense that, they have a least favorite part of the job, whatever that is, or you talk about it. And it might be like, just one thing that, that they maybe don't really enjoy doing is, like, just maybe a pre-practice organization. Lisa's done the whole 3 hours, but there's sometimes we want to put in a 15-minute, pre-practice for everybody. I work with the bigs, but it's just something that either it's just like another thing, or they're busy. Is finding the thing that kind of alleviates, that can kind of let them do what they do the very best. And like with us too, like I'll take over some of the media stuff now, or I'll take over, just some of the, correspondence. That's not recruiting, obviously. Everybody's got to recruit. Heck, the janitor's got to recruit for you now. But I just say that I would say over the years, as I kind of watch, Lisa is like, sorry, I can't think of examples, but what can alleviate her stress level and what can make her just zone in on the important things, which is basketball and winning, is I've found ways to kind of fill the minutia that either she doesn't like to do or doesn't really have the time to do. And that was been a really good strategy, because it allowed her to kind of shine, and then it allowed me to get more experience. And then I think we operated in a really, really nice, a nice space for a few years. And now, as our staff's grown, right, that's the positive thing about when you go to a Power 5, you have a lot of people that can help with a lot of that stuff. But so many people always ask me, why I'm on it. They're like, oh, I was so much better than Drake. And unequivocally, no, it's different. I love my time at Drake. That's where I coached before. I went to school there. But everywhere you are, whatever step is, it has beautiful things for it. And there's challenges and there's pros and cons of every stop, whether you're at Duke men's basketball or LSU women's basketball or anything on down, right? It isn't necessarily better. There's a lot more people, to help, but there's something amazing, at every stop. So I would say that. But the thing I learned, my strategy, I think that when I became a really great multitasker and I brought value in my best things, Coach Taylor. But I could be counted on in just about everything you need at any particular time. And so could Jenny Fitzgerald a long time. A lot of you, I'm not being cocky here, but I'm just saying you earn your keep if you can just alleviate the pressure.
I love that. Love that. Coach Kotas, what's your strategy on you advancing the coach ranks? I know you're at Ashton right now, and I would say it's a great division and a great program, but what would you say for you, for these listeners?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a strategy than more than advice is what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. This is what I kind of picked up throughout the years of being an assistant. Both coaches have already said it, be good at what you're good at. I think that builds the trust with whoever you're working with, not only just your head coach, but also the student athletes that you're working with every day. I have turned into someone where I am saving essentially everything, whether it's an email, practice plan, scouting reports, or anything like that, because you just never know when you're going to need anything like that, whether you want to go from an assistant to an associate at each whatever level, or an assistant to your head coach or to a head coach. You just never know that you might have to bring up a practice plan from a year ago and be like, oh, this is a drill I want to incorporate into my next program or my next season that I want to go into. So I have turned into a save everything, even if it goes anything from like a captain nomination form or any team bonding that you do. I've turned into, I got thousands of binders that have literally everything that I have had, especially since I've been at Ashland over the years. Keep learning too. I think that between the WBCA and the NABCA, there's so much resources out there for everyone to use. You might know something about offense, but you might not be very, very good at the defensive portion. Like, look up things that make you a great defensive coach and bringing those ideas and strategies to your head coach, or just having those in your back pocket. I think this is a career that you just constantly learn. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to be good at everything. And even listening to panels like this, like hopefully everyone is picking up just a little gem that one of these coaches is saying. And I think the biggest thing too is connecting, whether you want to be a head coach from an assistant or just move up from D3 to D2 to D1. I think you just connecting with anyone you can. I think right now getting a job is kind of like all about who you know, and your dream school might not be open for your next job, but somebody that you've talked to at recruiting or just sent an email or being on one of these panels, they might send your name out there. This is how I got the job at Ashland, is that the head coach here reached out to somebody to take the job, and she didn't want to accept it because she was trying to get out of the coaching career to start a family and to get married. And she threw my name out there just because we played against each other during the D2 ranks. And this is how I'm at Ashland now. And I'm forever grateful for her, just because I built that connection with her over the years of just being in the coaching ranks.
I love that. I myself am a basketball hoarder. I've got more boxes when we move, and it's all basketball than my kids. So I and myself, I like to collect all basketball stuff. So and that's just notes and practice plans and all. I want to encourage everyone that's listening out there to ask any questions and put it in the Q&A. We do have a few questions I like to get to because I want these questions answered. And any coach out there, if you guys want to shoot out there and answer these questions, it's great. The first one is, can you give us some tips on selecting a mentor in this business? Do you look for a head coach as a mentor, or a long-term assistant, someone well-known or seasoned?
Oh, I guess go ahead, Coach Taylor.
Nope, all yours.
I think I don't think it matters on the title, really. I think it's someone that you kind of see yourself in, right? You see someone that, whether you like how they do something or just you relate to them. I don't know. I think it has to be whether maybe you're sitting beside them in recruiting, or there's got to be some connection. I think it has to be kind of real, and it has to be organic like that. I think that you can write people and get some advice, but maybe you see someone on the sideline and you're like, oh, I want that person. He seems really cool. And then when you're recruiting, is if they're in the same gym as you, is maybe you go over and introduce yourself and see if they're who you think they are, right? And then kind of have a little conversation and then go at it that way. And it doesn't have to be the longest, greatest tenured assistant. It doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer head coach. It's just someone that for some reason clicks with you, because then I think you're going to be able to have an honest relationship that will serve you well. And obviously they have to have some experience. You don't want to go with someone that's 2 years older than you or something, but that's how I would go about it.
If I can piggyback off of what Coach said in terms of just I think the question was like, what type of mentor? In my opinion, it's why not have all of them? Because you can confirm or deny what it is that you're looking for. If you think one thing and one of your mentors or one of your mentors says something completely different, the reason for you, or the example is for you to understand why it's important and relevant to you. And that, in my opinion, is really it's really important to have a wide variety of mentors, because if you have one set standard, kind of almost get the same stuff. And in my opinion, you have a chance to open yourself up to a wide variety of opinions and perspectives and experiences. And now you have a chance to make them your own. And to me, that's the best way to grow and develop when it comes to utilizing mentors. And I think we all have them. Everybody has them, whether you identify them or not. In terms of a mentor role, everybody has them. I mean, I was listening to a podcast this morning of a guy, and it's all about the people. It's all about the connectivity that Coach mentioned. It's all about being able to learn from other people. Some people call it stealing. Some people call it a way of life, but it is what it is. Whether you term it that or not, it's you taking other ideas that you've heard and applying them to your day-to-day life and allowing them to be making them better for you. So I would say don't limit yourself to any one type of mentor. A variety, in my opinion, would help in a lot of ways, confirm or deny what you believe.
I like that.
Love that. Go ahead, Jenna. I know you got one.
No, I was going to press the retweet button on what both coaches have said. For me personally, it's someone that I can have a genuine conversation with, and someone that's going to be honest and kind of give me the info and answers that I need pretty much straight, is how I look at it. Not really beating around the bush or anything like that, but I think just the genuine conversation that you have with someone where you can talk to them for hours and hours a day, whether it be email, FaceTime, phone call, anything like that. For me, it doesn't matter what division, what position that they're in. It's just that genuine, set it straight connection that I look for when it comes to a mentor.
Absolutely, Jen. I was about to say the same thing. I mean, it can be somebody, it doesn't matter what level, someone with experience and knowledge, and even retired coaches. One of my mentors is a retired coach, and today's his birthday. And it's just people out there that's been there, done that, and knows what they're doing, that can give you the best advice out there to help you get to where you want to be in this career. So absolutely, great answers. We've got some other questions I want to get through to. A lot of people asking questions, but Matt Elkin wanted to ask, with the new rules changing, allowing 5 assistant coaches on D1 staff, how will you as a head coach adjust to some of the roles, responsibilities of your assistant coaches, if at all? And as a young support staffer or someone recently taking on one of these 2 new assistant spots, what can they do to contribute to a new role with the same job title as experienced or returning assistants? And I'll let anybody take it.
Well, I think I'll give it a shot here. That's so interesting. And, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of people are doing it a lot of different ways. Some people are just hiring a full-time trainer, that's trained at WNBA, or, I don't know if the guy's side is doing that, but it's like a whole nother component, and they'll be on the floor if they, want to coach, but it's almost like if they're just going to be that person's, maybe positions coaches. So there's a really lot of different ways that people are creating and using this. I think regardless, if you have, let's say you just have it the normal, typical way, you have the DOBO, and you maybe have a player development coach and so forth. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes down, because I think the danger of that is that there can be too many voices. And there's so many people now that are, talking. I'm going to use, I think, just an example, our player who's, pretty recognizable, Caitlin Clark. Okay, so let's just use a player that, is like that. And she's a lot, right? There's a lot of different, there's a couple of us that have, we're coaching her. But use your own Caitlin on your team, and then you add 2 people. So now there might be 4 people that are like, why'd you pull it from the logo? You should have tacked, or like, and you just have, now they're like, there's just a lot. So I think that staffs need to have some discussions on, however you're going to shake that down of like, is it, you can't just maybe still be your positions, it's connectivity. Maybe we have to have a little bit more organization, how many people are really speaking during a half court scrimmage, because I think that could be kind of a messy. And so I think that just goes from, some organizational things, how we're doing it. We're really fortunate. Jenny Fitzgerald on our staff, she's a phenomenal X's and O's coach. She got tired of recruiting about 4 years ago. So we have her in a special assistant spot that doesn't recruit. So she's just been on the sideline and doing some breakdown for us, but now her voice can be heard again. And so we'll better believe we'll have her voice be heard. So I think that staffs need to be careful. And I mean, I should say, I just think it could be kind of a cluster in practice. But I would suggest that you kind of have assignments on who's got who, if you're going to, coach during practice. But I think it can be positive with, you can even have more minor breakdowns if you have baskets.
Yeah, I'll jump in and answer 2 ways. I'll concur with Coach. I think just the possibility of having too many spoons in the soup, and one stirs the wrong way, could be an issue. So I don't. I'm at a lower resource program, so I don't have to worry about that either. So that's the way that I handle that, is I don't deal with it. We don't have that opportunity. But if we did have that opportunity from a resource standpoint, I would still keep it pretty small, for the fear of, I want to control the message. I want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And you can do that when you have a smaller group, as opposed to you have a bigger group. And if you do have a bigger group, I think it's really, really imperative that you are sensitive to what's being said, how it's being said, and then also how it's being received, who receives it and how they perceive it. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the execution of the mission. And everybody has a role to play in that execution. And again, I'm going to go back to something that I said, being a star in your role. And so being able to identify what your role is and then becoming a star. But that doesn't mean that you do things that are not necessarily asked of you. The other thing that I would say is like, on every staff, if you're aware, there's maybe a couple of people in the program that have the coach's ear. And so maybe you can utilize that venue to get information to the coach. And eventually it'll come out that it came from you, but different ways to attack the problem or attack the issue of being a part of a bigger staff and whatever your role is, it would be my opinion in terms of just, again, understanding who you are and being really good at it, but also how does it impact other people on the staff.
Yeah, and for me, haven't had to deal with that yet, just being at the D2 and the D3 level. We don't have as big of a staff as a Power 5 might have. But as far as kind of knowing your role and responsibilities when you have 4, 5, 6 assistants on the staff, I think one of the biggest things is, even if you don't have a lot of roles and tasks assigned to you, I think one of the biggest things is building relationships with student athletes. I think in this day and age, student athletes just want to know that people care about them, and building those genuine connections with a student athlete. That might not be in your daily assigned task where it's written in your how do I want to say it, your daily task, but just being there for the student athletes, whether it's someone to rebound for, someone just to talk to. I think that's just something that kind of goes over everyone's head, whether you're a first-year assistant or a veteran assistant. Just building those genuine connections with student athletes on the daily can be a simple task that you can do to kind of help build your rankings when it comes to being an assistant coach.
Absolutely. And I'm going to try to get through all these questions. I know there's a lot of questions and we're running a little bit short on time, but if you guys do have questions and we don't get to it, feel free to reach out to any of these panelists. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help answer these questions on outside of this webinar. But there's a question there that was asked about, with the training skills that are becoming more important in programs. As an assistant coach, should you become more knowledgeable in analytics, Photoshop, editing software programs?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Because you make yourself that much more available to someone that's looking for those 3 or 4 things, whatever they are. I'm not a big proponent of utilizing analytics, but there are 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 analytics or analytical analysis that I use, that I understand it. I understand how it impacts winning, how it impacts losing, and I'm partial to those things, but that's it. If I want to know something from an analytical standpoint, I'll ask one of these guys and they'll give me the answer. So why wouldn't you make yourself available to knowing how to do those things, to knowing how to curate that type of environment, so you become, somebody, hey, if you want to know something, ask him, because he knows, he studied and he showed himself that not only can he get the information, but it's also factual from an analytical standpoint, social media standpoint. Like, I don't know how many people we have on here, but I'm going to tell you a secret. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to social media, like none whatsoever. I think the WBCA and the NABC asked me to post this on I have no idea how to do that. And so I have to go to somebody and I ask them, hey man, because I know I'm not good at it. So I don't even fool with it. I let the person that is good at it, I let them do it. I let them handle it. I let them run with it. But I also make sure, like, hey man, make sure it represents me, what I'm saying, my message. So before they post it, I get a chance to see it. I get a chance to read it. And that's our system, if you will.
Yeah, Coach said it, the more the better off you're going to be whenever you want to take that next position or move on to the next round of coaching ranks. And to be honest with you, I know there's a ton, whether you're looking at the recruiting side of it, social media side, analytics side, there are tons of websites that you can sign up for and kind of dabble into that, or you can kind of create your own thing. I know there's a good amount of coaches that use recruiting databases to kind of keep their recruits in check, whether it's Front Rush or any other recruiting databases that coaches may use. I created my own, and it's a simple Excel, Google Drive that all of us coaches use, that our whole entire staff has access to. And so when we talk to a recruit, have a kid on campus, whoever it may be, they have access to kind of insert what they talked about, who they talked to, how long they talked to, when's the last time they talked to somebody as a recruit goes, who talked to them. And I know there's databases that take full control of that, but I created something on a simple Excel file that I think everyone in middle school kind of knows about. And that's what works for our staff right now. And that's something that I'm going to continue to carry over, because that's something that I've been using for 5 years now. So if you want to create your own, there's tons of ways in order for you guys to create your own, but essentially, yes, it's great to know new kind of technology that's going on, but essentially it's also what is fitting you and your staff during that time that you are on staff, wherever school you may be.
Would concur on all of that. Anything you have a strength in, when you're applying for jobs, there, especially if you're going for a level of a job that doesn't have a social media department that's cooking out things, that will be your ticket. That will be your ticket. So I would say, if there's one thing I would tell you, is learn to Photoshop. And then when you go to that interview, you look at that database of the top kid, and you show 3 or 4 things, it's going to put you at the head of the stack. Unless, I mean, if you're going, to a big Power 5 that has, I mean, we have access to that, but we also want to create stuff that, quicker than they can pump it out sometimes. So we got a lot of people that are good at that, but if there's one thing I'd say to be good at, I'd say that, because you're only as good as the horses you recruit. Doesn't matter how much you know with the other stuff, in my opinion. I'd be good at that.
And Coach, speaking of recruiting, it's great, because are there any tips, that can help elevate the game of recruiting throughout the different generations and social media growth that have changed over the years?
Any tips of tips that help elevate? I don't know if I understand the question.
Yeah, tips on how to continue to keep elevate the game of recruiting throughout the different generations and social media growth that have changed over the years.
I mean, I think you just have to look at the age group you're recruiting on everything. Look at what they're doing on TikTok, look at what they're doing on Snap, look at what they're doing on Instagram. And I think there's your answer, is you got to meet them where they are. And when you're, I may not be really as cool as our younger assistants on staff, right? I'm not on TikTok myself, but I have 2 kids. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. So I'm a little bit more aware, but I think that's how you try to stay on top of it, is, trying to mimic where they are, meet them where they are, and create good content that they're going to look at and they're going to view. And so I think that's the snazzy stuff. But then I think still at the end of the day, it's got to be your connection, and you can be as old school on that, or as new school. But if that's not authentic, and they feel, you're just, they're another recruit and you're just another coach, you're probably not going to have that success. So I'd say someone on your staff needs to know where those kids are on all those social medias. And then you just got to kind of pick a couple of them that, I know Coach Taylor's not really on it, but he has someone that does that for him. So if you're going to have someone do it for you, they better know you pretty well, or else it's just going to be like another blank email that goes out of Front Rush, right? Or it's going to be another mass, letter that, dear, Susie. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Coach Taylor?
Yeah, I would agree in terms of just what, communicating on a level that you come across as genuine, that creates a connectivity. I think that's the most important thing. However it is that you go about doing that. I think I'm old school, as you can tell by the beard and the gray and no hair. But I still maintain a level of genuineness, or I try to maintain a level of genuineness, like recruiting. I'll give you a perfect example. Nobody picks up the phone anymore and calls. It's all FaceTime or it's DMing people. I don't love it. I actually hate it. The kids know I hate it. Like, I will call them, they will not answer the phone and FaceTime me back. But if I want to communicate with them, that's their mode of apparatus. That's what they do. So that's what I have to do, unfortunately. And I tell them that I don't like it, but I do it because I want to communicate with them. And you have to be adjustable and choose different venues and different avenues that way, if you want to stay or maintain relevancy from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Taylor, you're lucky you get a FaceTime back. If my kids miss a call, I usually get a text message back because these kids like to do this nowadays. But I think before you can go into any of the social media things or whatever is hip nowadays, I think the biggest thing is you got to get to know what recruit you're talking to, what their likes, what their dislikes are, before you can kind of get into the whole snazzy kind of recruiting aspect that this world has turned into. And I use our current student athletes on our team to kind of know what's trending and what's not anymore. I like to think of myself as a younger coach being in my younger 30s, but obviously I don't know a whole lot of what's hip and cool anymore by the looks of our 18 to 22-year-olds that we have on our team. So I go to them whenever I need ideas, whether it's social media or things that we do on recruiting visits or anything like that. We say all the time that those girls on our team are our biggest recruiters. They help sell the school just like we do. So I go to them whenever it comes to anything recruiting wise, especially on the social media side.
Absolutely. Now we've got different levels of assistants out here watching and different experiences. For those that are seasoned or so, when is a good time to get an agent or start inquiring about an agent, whether it's to be a head coach or still be an assistant at another school?
I can take that one, I suppose. I've had for the women's side, Coach Taylor can take it for, it seems like there's been trends in the women's game. Now I think it's all gone to agents. I think everybody feels like if I don't have an agent, I don't have someone working for me. I think that's all kind of time and place. I think, I would like, I think there's a lot of, if you have a lot of experience, but maybe you don't have an agent, if you have your head coach call, I think a lot of ADs would very much welcome a phone call without an agent in some situations. I think that it's easier, you're going to hire the agent, part of that salary will be covered or whatever with it. So I've, over the years, it's kind of swung. I think it's now people do. I think you can survive without one. But again, I think it's person specific and how aggressive you want to be. I mean, if you really, they're kind of a headhunter, right? If you really, really want to get your name out there and it's more of you just want your name floating a lot. So when the right one comes along, that's probably your best bet. But I think if you're someone that, I don't know if that's me, I think you're fine. That's my opinion, but solely my opinion.
Yeah, from the men's side, I'll give you my take. Yes, I have an agent, but I will say this, and I say this to the agent that I have. Agents are only good when you don't need them. When you don't need them, you can get a hold of them, you can call them the whole nine. When you actually do need them to negotiate your contract or whatever, you can't find them. So that's my take. And yes, I do have an agent. I think also the reason why you have an agent is really important, and it's individualized. Like some of us have agents because we think an agent can help us get a job. Some of us have an agent because they think at the end of when I get fired, an agent can help me. So whatever your reason is, I think you have to identify what your reason is for having an agent. And that will tell you when you need one, if you need one, so on and so forth. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to that question. It's like Coach mentioned, they come and they go. Like it's a trend. Like I know ADs that refuse to deal with agents. They will not. In fact, they will eliminate you from a process if you have an agent call. But then again, there are some agents who only deal with or some ADs that only deal with agents. Agents can be, they can have some big name Power 5 clients and they can help you get on their staff. It's a matter of what it is that you want from an agent. But I would say this, if you're in the market for an agent, understand what they can and can't do for you. And you, in my opinion, you never want someone else speaking on your behalf because no one can speak for you better than you. That's my 2 cents.
Well said.
Go ahead, Jenna.
haven't dealt with an agent. So remember what I said when hopefully y'all are learning something. I just learned something from these two coaches. So thank you. So that's all I got to say about agents.
With that being said, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time here. We didn't get through all of these questions, but I'm sure if you all reach out to these coaches or a mentor of yours or anyone, I guarantee they'll be more than happy to help answer these questions for you. I do want to thank again to our panelists. Thank you all for giving your time to speak on today's webinar. I appreciate each one of y'all, and best of luck. Good luck this season in recruiting and basketball wise. And if you missed any of today's webinar, a full replay will be available in the coming days at WBCA.org and NABC.com. Thank you again, each one of y'all, for your time, and good luck this year and have a great day.
Thank you.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck to you as well. Take care.